Welcome, collectors, to a very special edition of Collector to Collector. I have with me someone I have yet to interview, even though, prior to this, I had an interview session with every other member of Four Collectors, and I have for you very special, none other than Sammy Thunder with me today.
Welcome to Four Collectors.
All right, Sammy, how's it feel to be the interview guest this time?
It's surreal to kind of be a Four Collector within the Four Collector universe as a guest of Four Collectors.
Yeah, very meta statement there.
It's my what's the director's? It's my Christopher Nolan approach to an Inception type of vibe.
All right. So you got the top spinning on your desk nonstop still? So
Exactly.
All right. So to get things started, I like to start from the beginning. Young Sammy Thunder, what was your introduction to sports and athletics? What sports did you play? Were you any good? How did that all start for you?
Baseball was the forefront, so that got me started. Little t-ball to little league, and progressively to middle. I didn't play middle school baseball. I didn't really have a team, so I didn't really jump until high school, where I played varsity baseball for a couple of years. And that's actually the origin of the Sammy Thunder name, is from high school. My coach, who at one point was an Oakland A's minor league player, um, decided to convert me I was a pitcher, so he converted me from being an overhand pitcher to a submarine pitcher in my senior year, and it had me going from being a starter to a closer. And so during that time, the captain of the team, this guy named Gary, came up with the nickname Sammy Thunder from Down Under, something like an Australian reference. But
Yeah.
that was kind of how that name came to be. But yeah, basketball as well. I didn't play. I played rec leagues, but I never played high school. That's something I kind of regret, because I think like baseball I was good, but basketball I think I was even better. And so I regret not going out for that. But those were the two sports. I tried hockey a little bit, but mostly in recreationally.
Yeah, you'd think with your height, basketball would have been automatic.
I know.
Even halfway good, getting a spot at least on the varsity team, being taller than most people.
And I think if I had the mindset that I have now, if I took the way my mind works now versus the way I was when I was 16, 17 years old, I'd be a much better athlete than I was then, because I just didn't really have the understanding. Because baseball, there's just so much going on. There's too many signals, too many signs, and as a 16-year-old kid, it's hard to process everything that's going on in the moment. And so you're overthinking, and as a pitcher, I mean, you get inside your own head when the game's blowing up on you. So, whereas now it's like I can probably handle it a lot better than I did then.
All right. So shifting a little bit then. So, playing baseball, you liked basketball. What was your origin then with hobby collecting?
That came to be, I want to say, probably when I was 10 or 11 years old. And so I was fortunate to have card shows every month at the Westchester County Center in White Plains. And so my mom would drop me off. I would spend the entire day. I didn't have not like kids these days that have huge budgets, because they're just, they just know how to, know how to grind from table to table, trading and selling. But I'd go there with like 20 bucks in my pocket, probably, if I had to guess. And so I'd go there for the day. I'd walk, be very patient. If I didn't find anything, I'd go back the next day. I'd just keep getting. It was a 3-day weekend show, so that my introduction was going to these card shows, admiring all the really expensive vintage cards that were there. And hang on, let me just turn my AC off because I don't want that to interfere. But yeah, that was it, man. I mean, it was mostly at the time. It was 80. I was buying up a lot of the 80s cards, like McGuire, and I was buying Todd Helton's, and I think he was mostly 90 in the 90s. But those are the two guys I was buying up a lot of.
So was there a particular first card, first set, something that was memorable at the beginning there?
I would have to think I leaned towards the Donruss 87 probably was the cards I really liked the most, and I still do like them. But there was something about the McGuire rated rookie that really just I love that card, and I remember I was just buying up as many as I could, but they were expensive at the time. They for a kid being 10 or 11 years old, I mean these cards were already this is in the 90s, so going to these card shows in the 90s or the early 90s, um, that McGuire card was pretty pricey, especially as an 85 Olympic. So it was, like I can if I wanted to blow through my $20 and buy the rated rookie, I could do that, but then I'd have nothing else to really enjoy from the show. So I had to be crafty with my $20
Oh yeah, don't want to blow your whole budget with a single card. Which
at the time. Yeah, I mean, and then
yeah,
you go look at the 85 Olympic card. I mean, that card, if I remember, I had to dig back deep here, but if I remember, that card was probably selling for $100, maybe a little bit more, maybe 150 at most. I mean, it's remarkable how different things are now.
oh yeah. Well, everybody assumed at that point he was on the Hall of Fame trajectory, going to be a legend of the game. You know,
Absolutely.
all that pre Balco steroids and all that
Yeah,
just
I
destroyed
mean,
all
I
that.
was I was on board. I mean, the two guys, as far as collecting goes at that time, it was McGuire. I was buying up a lot of McGuire cards of him on the Cardinals, of him on the Athletics, and also buying up a lot of Todd Helton's. I was a big Todd Helton fan at the time. Um, I think I was because I was a tall kid. First basemen were always known for being tall players. Typically, I mean, I guess they
Yeah,
still are. So I kind of gravitated towards a lot of those players like Todd Helton and McGuire, and I'm sure there were some others I just can't think of, but those two in particular. And so that was kind of my intro of the hobby in the 90s.
I didn't hear any Mets names. Were you a Mets fan back in those days?
I was, yeah. My grandfather he was a Mets fan, and so it kind of rubbed off on me. Um, I mean, I like the Mets, but they weren't like. I never really got into collecting. I was mostly big like when it came to collecting. I liked collecting a lot of individual players that I gravitated to. Like I liked McGuire, but I wasn't a Cardinals fan. I liked Helton, but I wasn't a Rockies fan. I just like the way they played the game. I mean, Helton, remarkable career, Hall of Famer. I mean, I wish McGuire didn't take the steroids, but what can you do? You're a kid at the time, so you just connect with the guy that's larger than life at the moment.
Sure. So, you were collecting in childhood. What was then your collecting trajectory after that? Was there gap years, or
Yeah.
what's your journey look like in collecting?
Yeah, there was a gap. I mean, I can't recall the time when I got out of it. I think just there was a natural gap that happened. I left the hobby probably maybe early high school, ninth grade perhaps, and I mean that's typical. I think with a lot of people. Other things kind of start creeping into the perspective of what you see every day, and cards were not it anymore. I'm envious of those that stuck with it. I wish I did, but that's just it happens. I know there's a lot of people that share that same trajectory. So
what was the trigger and that pulled you back in?
I was in Baltimore with my wife. We were in Federal Hill, I think it was, or yeah, Federal Hill. It's a neighborhood of Baltimore, and we're walking around. And my wife wanted to go. She's a big collector of books, and so she wanted to go to this bookstore, or we thought it was a bookstore. And so she wanted to see what was there, and it turned out not to be a bookstore, but I mean, it had books, but it was more of a nostalgia shop. And so I was there just walking around observing things that were like, oh, and Super Nintendo, I remember that, or Game Boy, I remember that. Transformers, like there's filled with 80s and 90s toys. And then I look down and I see there was a cardboard box underneath a stack of records, or I'm sorry, above, yeah, underneath. And so I take the records off. I open up the cardboard box, and inside are a bunch of cards. And I was like, oh, this is pretty amazing. I start going through, like, it's like just me kind of reaching back in time, thinking of the county center shows and thinking of your binder of cards that you have. And so I start poking through, and I find Larry Bird, the 81, 82 tops. And, I don't really, as a kid, I don't remember seeing that card that often. It was always baseball. So it caught my eye because Larry Bird is my favorite basketball player. And so I looked at it and I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. He's in his warm up jacket. It's just green all over. And so I definitely wanted it. So it was not in a top loader or a sleeve. It was just unprotected. And there was a stack that had Magic Johnson in there, Larry Bird, Kareem. The whole set was practically represented. But at the time, I wasn't, I'm not going to buy the whole set. I was just going to buy the cards I wanted. So I picked them up. There was also a Jeter 93 tops, and I picked that up and I brought it to the counter and I said, how much are these cards? And I know this might make people fall out of their chair, but it was, and I swear this is what he said, it was 25 cents a card. And
Oh,
so,
geez.
yeah. So I was like, I mean, in my mind, I'm thinking, well, I mean, I don't know. I really don't know what I don't know, but I feel like I definitely know that these cards are not 25 cents each. They're worth a lot more. So I bought them. I had like 8 of them, so I paid $2 for everything, and I walked away feeling like the thrill of the hunt was there, and it just like having that sort of that feeling kind of that drew me back in. And so I looked up how much they were worth, and I was like, oh my god, this was definitely worth a lot more. And I ended up about a year later grading the Larry Bird. I have it right here, and it came back an 8. So yeah, it's pretty special.
25-cent purchase.
I swear, I will not lie to anybody about
Oh, I
anything.
don't think you're lying. That's amazing.
Remarkable.
Because yeah, that's pretty close to the best condition you can get on most of those cards. Just
Yeah.
the production quality. So
Yeah. So that kind of drew me back in, and it kind of took off from there. I mean, things kind of just progressed. I started learning more, especially about the state of the hobby at the time. I mean, that was the big boom, right? Like right as things took off. I was probably, if I had to guess, I don't know, that was February of 2021, maybe, I think. That sounds about right, because I started my YouTube channel about a month later.
all right. So when you first then started into collecting, what kind of things did you want to pick up?
Honestly, I kind of caught that bug, so I was like, it was literally anything and everything. So, I didn't know, there's no right or wrong way to collect, but there's also probably, there's like, does it make sense to overspend and buy a bunch of those Tops big cards from, like, I think they're the Tops big, were like from 1988 or 89 or something like that. And so I remember going, I don't know where it was. I must have went to a shop and I saw like 2 of those boxes, and they had what are they called? The cellophane wrap or whatever.
Yeah,
Um,
it was like a crinkly plastic.
yeah,
More or
and
less.
it
Yeah.
was, so I bought 2 of them. I can't remember how much I bought them for, but I'm sure I overspent on it, because I was so excited. I was like, "Oh, these are cool," and I think that was my first video that I did on YouTube, was doing like a live stream of breaking those cards, thinking, and I felt like the coolest person doing it. But,
Well,
I
that's
mean,
what I was wondering because I watched that video earlier today, and the intro, it didn't feel like a first video. Like you didn't really, you just started going, and
yeah,
normally, people give some little introduction to themselves with their first video, but
no, I just, it was, yeah, it was just really just impromptu pack breaking with no focus or um, any thought behind it, really. So that, yeah, as far as getting to the point now where I'm doing my videos and structuring them more closely and carefully, that was just time and patience in the process of learning how to, you know, become a better content creator, or to how to improve just the quality of the content. But at the time, I mean, it's probably a shame though, in a way, because in the time, during those videos, those early videos, you really just, it was really more just about the cards and not trying to, find the right vibe for the video. You should let the cards do all the talking, and you're just, you're playing second fiddle to the cards.
well, you did spend the first few months hand modeling, so
That is true. Yeah.
there is that. So,
That
um,
was that was a Passes Alive inspired thing, because he never really showed his face too often, and that was the first channel that I gravitated to, as well as John. Not I'm sorry, not John Lee from Criterium Racer. He's another content creator, and this guy Dave from T&D Sports Cards. I think Lee still creates content. David, I don't know if he's on and off with it. So I think just, life gets in the way of things sometimes, and you just don't really get the time to make content. But those three were three big channels that really helped, inspire me to move forward.
all right. Yeah, I noticed early on, you right away had some vintage videos that were mostly 60s based.
Mhm.
And I know you have evolved greatly in your vintage collecting. You want to walk us through your different evolution of vintage collecting?
Yeah, so I chose 1965 as my first set to build, completely based on the fact that I liked the way the card looked. I liked it, and that's something that hasn't changed about me, is the aesthetic of cards. If I don't like the way a card looks, chances are I will not buy it for my collection. And that will hold true with with the guys I collect today, Willie Mays, Tom Seaver, Nolan Ryan, Christy Mathewson. Those four are my focus now. But there's one thing that won't change, is the aesthetic. If I don't like the way the card looks, I just won't buy it. So there's that. But going back to the initial stages, 65 was the first set I built. I thought that was a really cool design with the pennant, and the color choices that they had for the cards, and some of the shots they had, for the photographs that were taken of each player, I thought were really special. Um, and so it took a while. I mean, again, this is just my lack of knowledge and lack of just understanding of the best ways to build sets. Usually it's better to, I mean, buy the Hall of Famers first if you can, which is what I did. But it's better to not build it one card at a time. It's better to buy bulk, like buy a bulk lot of them to work with, to work around, and you can always replace the really beat up cards if you want to. So I ended up building that 65 set one card at a time, and it was probably not the most feasible way to build a set, but it was just my way of doing it, and it was a lot of fun. So that was kind of the entry, and then set building became the focus. So that was my thing. So I built the 65, then I built the 69 set, then I built the 59 set, and just kind of kept going. And then eventually I got tired of that and I just wanted to focus on buying either the first year card of a player or their rookie, however you want to interpret it. So I did that for a while and I built up a nice rookie collection and I still keep some of them. But then ultimately I was inspired by uh, what people were buying at the National in Chicago, and also my buddy Brian B. Roth 6. He's a Hank Greenberg exclusive collector, and I was really inspired by that. I like the idea of somebody focusing really heavily on whether it be one player, two players, five players, however. But it helps streamline things a little bit, so your mind is not going in 50 directions. You can just really limit what you're focusing on and not have to feel like, oh, I need this, but I need this, but I need this, I need this. And not that's not to discredit anybody who does that. I admire anybody that is able to kind of keep their collecting interest in check. But yeah, I could see it's just it wouldn't be good for me if I were to go in 50 different directions.
All right. So, these days, are you then just exclusive with the four players, like 100%, or is there anything else you know,
I've stepped
about
outside a
that?
little bit. Yeah, I've stepped out. I mean, I have some representation here of that. I don't know if you can't really see it too well, but I have an Addie Joss portrait that I bought at the National. I'm trying to see if there's anybody else here. I mean, there are some, like I have Fred Merkel and Red Ames portraits, but I decided to build the New York Giants portraits set, all the portraits of the Giants players from the T206. I decided to do that. But
So, how many of those are there?
I don't know off the top of my head. I really haven't looked. I've
Yeah.
honestly, like that's again, like that's just something that I mean, I say I'm getting away from set building, but that's a pretty small. That's a smaller set to build, and I'm not in any rush with that one. I can take my time. Um, but yeah, I really probably should have looked, but because I have the Mathewson already, that really
You got the
uh,
expensive one.
yeah, and it makes
Yeah.
the other ones easier. I mean, the Mark card and the McGraw are probably going to be expensive, but not in the same
Not in the
range.
same. Yeah,
No.
exactly. Yeah.
So and these other ones like like Merkel and Ames, I like the Ames I got for like $65, and the Merkel I think I paid 100, a little over 100 because it's a little bit of a higher grade and good registry to it and so forth. Um, Yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at right now. I'd say probably 90%, maybe 95% is player focus on the four, and then maybe 10 is shifted over to some other stuff.
All right.
Mhm.
So, and then back on the YouTube front. So, um, I see, evolution. Eventually, you became the man in the corner. Is that
In the
was that
corner.
inspired by someone else to replicate that style as well? The where you're in the box in the corner with then showing the hands on a separate camera type of thing.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, like the to have my
Because
face.
that was when I first found your channel. You were the
Yeah,
small box in the corner, so I always knew
yeah,
what you looked like. But
yeah, yeah. I'm trying to remember how that evolved. I think I was seeing other content creators doing something similar, like John Wade Boggs fan, who's been around for a while. He
yeah,
was doing something like that, and he still does. I think it actually looks really good now. He does like the circle with the red border around him, which is a really nice touch.
sure.
Um, yeah, so I saw him doing it, and I thought, okay, I think I'm ready to graduate to showing my face. So yeah, I started doing that, and
And
you
then a
know,
big evolution to me is when you started doing card show videos, because those things get tons of views. I mean, that seems like
yeah,
that's what blew you up. So,
yes, I think that's one thing that I've been asked by people before. It's like, how do I what's the best way for growth? Like, how do I grow my channel? And I said, well, everybody has a unique trait about their channel. Some people are very analytical, some people are storytellers, some people are they're very hobby news oriented. I mean, there's so many different avenues you can go down, and there's just you can be like there's so many different ways you can approach your channel as far as growth goes, and you got to see what works. So if you see that your a particular video, if you analyze the hobby and you see that those videos are getting a lot of views, probably do more of those because that's what people are wanting to see. In my case, the card show videos were getting the most views, so I thought, okay, well, I seem to do pretty well recording the card shows and the experiences, and so I figured, all right, well, that'll be my the focus of the channel, and that will continue to drive more views. And but it was a lot. It's really a lot of trial and error because I do want to try other things with my channel outside of card shows because traveling to shows and having to do all that takes a lot of time and takes a lot of effort, and it can be exhausting at times. But yeah, it's a constant process of trying to find what works and what doesn't work.
And now you've gone to doing a regular live stream now with Jason, the cardboards and cold ones.
There you
How
go.
did that all come about then?
Um, so Jason's very down to earth. Jason and I enjoy the same. I think we were going to lunch at the National with the whole group at the. I think you were there with us as well when we were going to that burger. Like not a burger. I guess it was a burger joint. No, it was in Strongsville, not the National. Excuse me. In Strongsville, we went to that burger joint. I think like 2 or 3 times, and I remembered riding with Jason, and we were talking about music. We were talking about just his not so much upbringing, but just his life, and it just kind of got a good vibe from him in terms of the kind of personality. I felt like we could definitely feed off each other in a live stream format. We have a similar understanding, I think, with the hobby, and Jason, he's very knowledgeable in his own right, and just has just a good way of interacting with people. I think that's something that I felt we would be able to do very well, is that he's very personable. So I think that is kind of why I decided to ask him. I said, "Would you be interested in doing a weekly live stream where we would drink beer?" Because I know he's a big beer drinker, as I am as well. And I thought, you know, we don't like to overthink things. We just want to be able to kind of hang out, drink a beer, relax, joke around. And I know he's always down for that. So I thought, I think this could work. And Jason agreed, and the rest is history.
And it does feel like it's a pretty loose structure. I I find myself having trouble with that. I like to have things a little more planned out, not so off the cuff. But I feel like your style is just smooth with the, you know, just taking things as it comes and letting it twist and turn naturally. So
Yeah, I mean, to me, I've always admired radio, not DJs, but radio, like I don't know, broadcasters, I guess, like the guys that are on WFAN. That's that's the New York station, the sports radio, and I just like how loose and off the cuff they are, and they just kind of go with the flow and things. Um, it'd be great. I mean, like Jason and I have never really had to like any sort of disagreement on any, in terms of things in the hobby. But I think it would be phenomenal if we could find a topic where we would have like a very respectable conversation going back and forth, a dialogue on something that we might disagree on, and I think it would make for great content that way. Kind of have that like, Mike and the Mad Dog sort of going back and forth a little bit. But with it's I mean, I've seen some of the Mike and the Mad Dog shows, or I've listened to them, and they get pretty hectic. Or they get pretty, really into it. But I mean, that's just that sort of thing. Is that you don't want to see the same thing monotonous over and over and over again, in terms of just uh, one person agreeing and the other person agreeing. It's like you want to have good dialogue and a good conversation, a good debate is never a bad thing.
All right. So at this point, any other, plans for upcoming things that are of interest in, your schedule ahead?
Uh, Nothing really planned per se. I mean, the national obviously. I've already booked my hotel and booked the flight already. Strongsville's definitely going to happen again. Um, Outside
Yeah, the
of that,
national's only what, 40 something weeks away?
yeah, no, it's coming up, man. It's right around the corner. It's going to be here before you know it. Uh,
Yeah, I think we're what, 6 months or so to Strongsville.
yeah. See, that's definitely a lot more enticing when you think about it. I mean, I love Strongsville was a lot of fun. That was great. I mean, the hotel was disastrous, but outside of that, it was awesome.
Well, I'll get to see it for myself this year. So
Yeah, I mean, I'm wondering how many of us are going to be booking the hotel versus doing Airbnbs like everybody did at the National. It might be more.
yeah, considering all the horror stories of the hotel, I don't know what's a better idea. So
Yeah, just remember John Wade Boggs fan was him and I were. I guess everyone had gone up to the rooms, and so John and I were one of the last ones to go up, and John would think was staying on the top floor or something like that, or the elevators were all broken and we couldn't find the stairs, and it was just crazy. It was like one. I don't know if you're familiar with the Winchester House, right? Like Sarah
oh yeah,
Winchester.
Winchester
How
Mystery House. They kept
Yeah,
adding rooms each year.
yeah, that's what this hotel felt like. Is that like when you go through a door and all of a sudden you fall down 2 flights or something like that? You know, like this is how that hotel was built. It was built in the what was it like? Sarah Winchester was afraid of like the spirits saying that like if she didn't continue building that she would die or something like that.
Something really weird, superstitious.
Yeah, like her husband died, and then she was cursed. Yeah,
Yeah, but fortunately, very rich, cursed.
yeah, that is true. She did have a lot of money, but money can't cure insanity. Maybe it can.
Exactly.
So,
All right. Well, before I get to my other random questions, did you have any other cards you wanted to show the folks that are, representation of the Sammy
well,
Thunder collection?
I was gonna save this for my. I'll show this one piece because I think it's really cool. I'll show this again on my video on Monday. Do my start of the week video. I've never seen these, but these are pretty cool. They're records, but like I'll show this. You got this Tom Seaver
Oh,
playing this.
wow.
It's called the Listen to the Sports Challenge on the back.
Never seen one of those before.
No, Scarra Productions. I don't know if I saw the year on it. I want to. This is definitely in the '70s because there's players on there like Fred Lynn is on here. Not in this record, but he's in this set. So I'll just go through them. Got Don Larson's Perfect Game. Bill Mazeroski still has the wrapping on it. Wins World Series 1960. Got Hank Aaron. This one's been played. Unfortunately, you can see the the hole's been popped through. So I guess somebody played this one. Maybe they didn't. I don't know. Bobby Thompson, my grandfather's favorite player. Shot heard around the world.
The Giants win the pennant. The Giants win the
Exactly.
pennant.
You got it, man. Jerry Kuzman and Don Clendenin. Miracle Mets. Johnny Bench. Here's Fred Lynn. Has an incredible day in Detroit. So these are pretty cool. Frank Robinson. This one hasn't been punched through. Homer's first as Indian. Ted Williams. This is nice. Last time at bat in Boston. And then this one. Willie Mays hits first Met homer. So as a
Okay.
Met, the pinstripes. And then finally, so really I got three of my guys represented. Nolan Ryan, fourth no-hitter. It's just unfortunately he's with the wrong team. Um, But yeah, I mean, I'll read a little bit on these, like the way these discs work. They tell you how to do it. Play reverse side at 33 and a half rotations per minute. Push out center hole, and then they kind of give you on the back. Yeah, they give you some like a bio about the or like a let me see what does it say here. Yeah, just kind of give you some information about the players. Yeah, it's kind of cool. The sports challenge, it kind of makes me think like the logo makes me think of the classic sports ESPN logo for whatever reason. So,
Those
yeah.
are cool.
I haven't looked it up yet. I honestly, I bought this at the Philly show and I bought it there. I was like, oh, I paid whatever the amount was that the guy asked for. I thought it was reasonable. I don't know what to really go for. I'm just going to assume that, you know, I paid a good price. I paid $100 for them. I thought they were really cool. So for $100, I'm willing to roll the dice on something unique and something different.
Sure.
So, yeah. The other stuff I'll show on my video on Monday, but I'll give everybody a sneak peek.
Okay. Oh, I
So,
was going to ask you, so what ended up then getting you into doing your own tables at shows? I mean, how did that evolve?
so I knew that my collection was expanding prior to slimming it down, and so I thought, well, I've invested a decent amount into these cards, and I definitely want to slim down on what I have, and instead of having to take money out of my paycheck every week to buy cards, why not try to sell some stuff and to kind of continue a funneling fund of buying back in that way. And so I've always enjoyed the atmosphere of a card show, and I've always, even as a kid, I've always loved the idea of being or like just seeing dealers and seeing their collections laid out or seeing their inventory laid out. I've always just liked the idea of it, sitting behind a table with a display case full of just really cool stuff, so that when others pass by, they can see and admire what you have. I always loved that sort of vibe, and so I built up a decent collection. I was ready to move a lot from it, and so I wanted to set up for myself, and I wanted to have that experience as a dealer. And since then, I've learned a lot, picked up a lot of information as far as how to do certain things, and um, it's a lot of fun, but it's also a lot of work. So, but I enjoy it. I enjoy the interaction. I enjoy the camaraderie with the people that come by and the other dealers, and it's funny. I still, when I get close to when I'm driving to a location, I still kind of get those butterflies, those feelings of like, oh my god, and the card show's right there. It's funny that never escapes me.
So is that how you end up funding your purchasing now, or is that just a bonus to be able to get these bigger things? Or
Yeah, it's part of. Yeah, I mean, for the most part, a lot of the stuff I buy for my collection is funded from shows, and so um, I move a lot of things. I move things to make room for more, for newer, for maybe not newer is the right term, but for pieces to add to my collection.
so are you to the point now of trying to find bargain items to spin around for more money, or is it still just your
Yeah,
own stuff?
from time to time. I mean, I've taken on a consignment recently, so I'm helping move cards on behalf of somebody else, and I take a percentage of the sales. So I do the work. I price things out, and I keep it up to date and very diligent on making sure that everything is right on. So, and it's kind of a mix. So I have some of my own stuff that I sell, and then some of the stuff that's from the consignment. And so at the end of the show, I calculate everything and kind of just take my cut and put it aside and let it build.
Well, cool.
Mhm.
Honestly, being in the Pacific Northwest, I'm just jealous of all you guys in the Northeast or Midwest that actually have good shows to go to. So, you all
It's so
suck.
strange. Yeah, it is a skewed over. It's definitely a skewed over to the Northeast primarily. I will get yeah. There's no guarantee. There's no denying that.
Oh yeah,
And it's just, I mean, it is remarkable, just how it really hasn't expanded, especially since the hobby exploded. I mean, you'd think that thing like in the bigger cities, like in your case, Portland, things would, you would have a lot more shows than just the one that you told me that there's only one, which is
There's a
surprising.
pathetic 20 or 30 table, mostly modern stuff in a dying mall in Portland that happens each month. So
That I don't get. I just don't understand how you don't have more than one show. Because you have, I mean, what is it? Is it really? Is it the Portland Trailblazers? But do you have any? You have minor league teams as well?
uh, there's a couple of minor league teams nearby, but well, the AAA team out of Portland moved when they turned it to a all MLS stadium.
Oh boy,
We used to have the San Diego Padres affiliate that was
gotcha.
here, but yeah, we have a local single A team in my suburb, but
Hmm.
yeah,
It's
not a strong baseball town. They've been trying for years to bring an MLB team, but they haven't been able to finance and build the stadium to attract them. So
yeah. I mean, I figured that a place like Portland, you would probably. I feel like even so, you would still find card shows. I lived in New Orleans for 4.5 years, and I know people. There are people down there that are big time collectors. And they have a show I think once a month as well. But I think it's my understanding. I think there's some good vintage there. Don't you don't have any shops, and you must have shops as well in the area,
there
right?
are some shops, and they usually have one vintage case out of their whole shop.
So
So
you really, for you, it's really all about Strongsville, National, and auction houses.
eBay and online auctions.
Thank God for those, right?
Oh yeah.
Because
Wasn't
I know
for
you got
eBay, I would not have almost everything behind me. So,
that's incredible, incredible. It's just
but
it's amazing how different things are based on where you are in the country. That's wild.
oh yeah, it's yeah. The the Northeast, Ohio, Midwest area, you guys are spoiled. But
Listen, I don't take it for granted. I get it. I get it. And there. Mookie and we went to a couple of shows. We have our choices, so I don't take it for granted.
no, I'm happy for you. But yeah, you won't be seeing me boost my channel with card show videos. So
No, but you have your own niche, though.
yeah,
It's you're able to kind of I think your channel, you kind of break things down and give your honest opinion about certain things, and kind of splicing in cultural references to tie in your points. I think is a lot of fun. I think people get a kick out of that, and like you like the whole anti rookie card movement. That was fun. It
yeah.
was good. Listen, it's harmless fun. Nobody gets hurt. It's that's what makes the hobby fun, is a difference of opinion on certain things.
Oh yeah, and sometimes some teasing among friends.
Yeah.
Who might have a Clemente card graded at point 0.5 lower than mine. But
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I remember that too.
but
You and Theo were battling that one out.
oh yeah, that was loads of fun, and he turned it into a cool little VR even at the end. So
Yeah, that was the the anti John VR.
exactly.
Oh man.
But all right. Anything else show or say before I go into my list of questions for you?
No, let's go right into it.
All right. So, do you have a favorite animal? Let's exclude the easy pet, dog, cat. Those are off the table.
I,
Favorite animal that you identify with.
elephants.
All right.
I always grew up liking elephants.
Cool.
Hmm.
They're big and powerful.
Yeah.
All right. If you had the ability to choose any person any time in history. You get to live a day of their life. You can do what they do. You know enough to do what they do. You
Oh
know,
man.
you have their knowledge and abilities for that day, so you can see what it feels like to be able to do what they did. Who do you choose?
Oh man. You know, my initial answer is going to be Nikolai Tesla, but that just is the first person that came to mind because of how much his brain bounced from invention to invention. It's just unfortunate that his life did not turn out the way he imagined it would have. But let's just go with Tesla, Nikolai Tesla, because uh, man was a genius.
That is a cool answer.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, when you become yourself again, you're not going to understand any of that anymore, right? But
yeah, it's unfortunate, but he died poor and he died practically homeless, almost homeless. But
oh yeah, it's crazy because
uh,
yeah, he wanted to share his inventions with the world and ran into people who wanted to profit off of them. And
like J.P. Morgan screwed him over.
yeah,
He also screwed over Edison as well, so I don't, can't really feel that bad. But yeah, J.P. Morgan, not a good guy.
no. Um, all right. Do you have a favorite movie?
Oh, yeah, you know what? I gravitate towards There Will Be Blood. I love that movie. That is probably
That is
one.
intense.
Yeah, I Daniel Day-Lewis probably my favorite actor, and There Will Be Blood. It's got to be up there.
Okay. Did you have a favorite subject in school?
I think if I had to pick one, I mean, at the time, probably uh, like it was typically, I guess it was English, but it was like specifically it was. I remember taking like an English course that focused on Shakespeare, so that was I did very well in that class. The other class I did well on was more of like video art, so I was really big into filmmaking as a high school kid. So that was probably one of those two.
Wow, very different from everyone I've had so far. More of the creative type, I guess.
Yes, yeah, I'd say those two were my top two classes.
Cool.
Mhm.
Do you have a favorite food?
Uh, Fried chicken.
All right. As a kid, what did you want to be when you grew up?
I mean, the baseball player is always the first thing, but uh, what did I want to be? Yeah, I guess I'll just. I mean, I can't really think what I just can't really come up with a better answer right now. So I'll just go with like baseball player is what I wanted to be. I'm just gonna stick with that.
Well, you went farther with it than 90+% of people,
Okay,
so
that's
that's
good.
realistic then.
Yeah.
Uh, who's the most famous person you've encountered in real life?
Who, right? Most famous person I've encountered in real life. Huh. Well, first person I think of is Frank Robinson, but I mean, Frank Robinson's honestly probably famous to only a handful. I mean, like a lot of people, but comparatively, I've met Ace Frehley of Kiss. That was pretty cool. I met Joe Torre, and Joe Torre is recognizable for for his time with the Yankees as a manager. He's great. I'm a great ball player, but don't get me wrong. But everybody
Yeah,
remembers him now. Uh, man, making me think back. Um, I'll just go with Ace Frehley because I mean everybody knows Kiss.
they were very popular.
Yeah, Space Ace, man.
Yeah. When I would have been probably in preschool and you were not born, I
Yeah,
suppose.
yeah. um, I'm trying to think if there's anybody else, but I think Space Ace.
Cool.
Hmm.
All right. Do you have a favorite song?
That changes all the time. I'll just tell you what I've been liking lately. Down in the Hole by Alice in Chains.
Okay. If you could choose any superhero power, what would be your choice?
Invisibility.
Okay, you want to find people, sneak around?
Yeah, sometimes you just want to disappear.
All right. So now here's one. Your last question is back, turning around on your collection here.
Hmm.
So you focused all of a sudden now with the pre-war guy being Christy Mathewson.
Yeah.
If I told you you had to pick somebody else and let's start again, who would have been the second choice?
Pre-war or during general?
Like a pre-war guy, because
Pre-war
you
guy.
got Seaver Bean and Mays as your post-war
Yeah.
legends.
Okay, so another pre-war guy outside of Mathewson. Uh, hmm. I do like Addie Joss's story, and I can appreciate that. Um, hmm. You know what? Because I grew up really liking the home run, like the long ball with McGuire and Helton. Let's go with Home Run Baker.
Okay,
The guy he took Mathewson deep multiple times. So yeah, I'll go with Home Run Baker.
he's got some cool cards. I
Yeah.
love his that T227, the
Hmm.
honest long cut. That set, his that card of his is gorgeous.
Yeah.
But all right. Any last thoughts here for the folks at home? You made it through here.
Yeah. It was a lot of fun. It was a good time, man. Good time to reminisce and go back in time a little bit to kind of think back on things.
Well, thanks. Yeah, it was fun getting to know more about Sammy Thunder from Down Under. So,
Yeah,
all
absolutely.
right. So, folks at home, everybody, thank you for watching. Don't forget to, leave your comments about anything related to anything Sammy said. He'd love to get your feedback. We'd love it here at Four Collectors. And if you're not subscribed, don't forget to subscribe to Four Collectors or Sammy Thunder's channel or mine, if you feel like it. But everybody, thank you for watching. We will see you next time.